Hello. Well, still good day to you guys. Friends, I'm going to narrate the following story. One of the most fantastic messages that we get in our emails from our TIPA friends read as follows. Well, if you decided to join, can you uh, play it if you decided to join this reimagined museum is because you cannot stop believing in action. Well, I'm going to narrate the story of a museum that was born out of action. More than 25 years ago, Francisco Dipon, or Pancho, began to collect old carpentry tools. He was a collector. He was not looking for the full set or very valuable pieces. What he is going after is the ingeniousness behind each one of these tools. After preparing a book in addition to his collection has more than 1,000 pieces. Pancho suggested for us to build a museum, but he did not want his tools to die hanging in a wall or behind a glass case. He told us that ingeniousness should be seen in action. This has to be a vital space, he told us, where everything is valued, with trace or values, where we can see all mechanisms working. It is carpenters that make their tools work, and they are going to be our guides. So carpenters were our guys. I thought it was a great idea, so I wanted to start a discussion in my field, in our field, and I began to think as to what it contribute from theory and concepts. And I began to use words as mentioned, curators, catalog, conservation, patrimony. Those were words that I began to use, but all of a sudden I realized that I was speaking to myself. That those were my pillars, those concepts were my pillars, those were the words that I used for naming the things that he was asking me for, but I was approaching them from a different place, very different borders, and a place where I am sure most of us have been, a place of intuition, a place of creativity, and a place of ingenuity. How could I refuse embarking on that adventure? All of a sudden, I was in the middle of this creativity wave and I let myself flow. I tried to keep my head above, to be silent, looking with wonder all the spaces, all the devices, all the setups that Pancho suggested. He's a very brilliant man, but a very dispersed man. He's a hard-headed man, but what is most important, he has so much energy as he has weakness in his body. Pancho can no longer work. He hardly ever talks, and he never liked to write. So his instructions were short sentences written in a tablet with a horrible handwriting. It was fucked up. It was very difficult to understand. I just couldn't understand that. It was full of laughter, and that is the tree that I was trying to approach. And we combined our tools to create this museum. I used to get lost in my doing. Pancho had does not have a lot of time. Pancho was riding the horse, and I was riding behind him, enjoying the wood in our faces. It was not easy to see a museum based in our own intuition, but I knew this was a great opportunity, an opportunity for me to learn and to learn again. So our creature was born. This is a hybrid structure. This is a delicious monster with two heads. It's a very small museum that I would give it a formal order, but I am never going to lose sight that this is a museum that is non-traditional, and that this is going to be also a workshop to give life to Pancho's collection. And without a doubt, we were going to call it Museum Workshop. As we began to prepare the spaces, I began to realize that Pancho's plans had children as the main characters. They were going to go work with the tools, the carpentry. They were going to focus beauty, whatever beauty is. Pancho wanted his museum to be full of children. He wanted them to plan and structurally to come to his museum to work with him and build with tools. Can you stop? So we designed a carpentry workshop that was going to be conducted in the same exhibit room, and it was going to join the trade and the collection. This is basically what we wanted, a museum that transpire creativity. However, educational programs are currently privileged, so apparently we were going to part of the hysteria that children were going to dominate the main functions of communication and information technology, such as internet. Otherwise, they would be contemporary zombies, basically children without a destiny. I was afraid of falling in the game of aligning contents and the multiple narrations of the museum with educational content. If this was the case, we would have to sit down to watch a touch screen. But Pancho wanted children to build things with their hands and let their imaginations fly. For us, the most important thing was for them to understand the doing, for them to trust their own bodies, for them to be in contact with wood and tools, for them to have the opportunity of build devices. That was the opportunity of a new future. And it worked out. We have been highly recognized by cultural and educational institutions. We have signed agreements with universities. We have worked with children that are under low problems. We have worked with different artisans, but this is not what I am here to tell you. I want to tell you that we learned three very lessons by unlearning. The first one is that we should never forget theory, but we should not take theory so seriously, and we should follow our intuition. With those tools, we can build scenarios that enlighten different worlds. The second lesson is that a museum is a laboratory, not only with regards to the handling of its collection, curator decisions, narrations, but we can also experiment in museums with spontaneity, with games, with risk, with rebelliousness. The third lesson is that is not a new lesson, but we should always keep in mind is that it is necessary to bring museums out of silence and bring them down from pedestals. I learned that we have to give a space for knowledge and experience to go through the bodies of our visitors, and I also learned that it is possible to fix those through action and not only through condition. I also learned finally, well, the word that I want you to take home with you summarizes my experience, and this word that I want you to keep in mind is emotion. Those things that bring us out of our comfort places and bring us to another place. Thank you, Pancho, and thank you for listening.